Testing. Okay, let's do this. Just searching for an analyst job just suck right now, and you're stuck inside your job search. Whether you're not hearing back from companies, you're not getting any interviews, or just struggling to get and land job offers. I'm gonna give you a system that's gonna help you diagnose what the problem could be and show you exactly how to fix it fast. My name is Jeff. I'm a business analyst consultant at UHG, United Health Group, a Fortune 4 company, and I've helped with hiring analysts into our department. I've also coached people through every stage of the job search, helping them land a data job by identifying what is holding them back and then improving on different parts of their process. In this video, I'm gonna share insights from the hiring side and introduce this system that'll help you figure out what's wrong inside your job search so that you can finally get closer to landing that job. But before we dive in, a heads up, my work laptop hard drive just failed and I lost a lot of work, so always back up your work. But it's been stressing me out because I'm scrambling to restore everything and I'm leaving for vacation this weekend. So I'm trying to record a few videos. Please excuse the lack of editing for this. And I'm on a mission to get 10,000 people data jobs, and I want one of those people to be you. So subscribe to the channel if you're trying to land a data job, but you are struggling to get over that last hump. So subscribe because you don't want to miss any of these future videos, because I am devoting a lot to try to get as many people as I can data jobs. Let's introduce you to the system, which I'm calling H.I.R.E, which is going to stand for Hunt, Impress, Refine, and Evaluate. So these are going to be the 4 main areas that you're going to be wanting to look at. So first, I'm going to talk about Hunt. Are you creating enough opportunities? This is where we're going to diagnose pipeline volume. And that all that means is, are you applying to a lot of places? Are you engaging with enough high quality opportunities? Because one of the things I've found when people say they aren't hearing back is they're just not putting in enough work. They're applying to a few here and there, but they're not actually significantly putting the time and effort and consistent time and effort to applying to a lot of different jobs, even jobs that they don't like, just to see and hear back to, so you can get a gauge on what the value of you in the market is. Common problem indicators people are facing here is not hearing back from companies or just no interviews at all. And what I've heard from people just being stuck is they're just not applying to enough roles. When you go out inside the job market, just look at Reddit, analytics, data science, you'll see anywhere from like 100, 500, 800, 1,000, and they're barely getting any interviews or no job offers at all. I just recently saw somebody where they had about 800 interviews and they got 800 applications and they only got 3 interviews. Yes, they're probably doing other things wrong, but you want to be able to at least get to the output and then analyze from there, what can I do next? It's a numbers game. A lot of people do not like when I say it's a numbers game, but the more places that you apply to, the more applications that you send to, the more that you get feedback and the higher chances that you're going to get hired somewhere. So keep that in mind. The job market is rough. The rougher the job market, the more applications that you need to send out. The easier the job market, the less applications that you have to send out. When I was first applying for any job, when I got out of college back in 08, 09, in the aftermath of the financial crisis, I applied to everything that I could. I applied to entry-level jobs I could, marketing jobs, because that's what my major was at that time. I couldn't find anything. I did administrative assistant work, a video game tester, nobody would hire me, and I finally got a job as a temp and then worked my way up into working as the assistant to the data analyst. In that time, it was the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. I had to send out a lot of job applications. In this market, because of the massive tech layoffs, you'll be competing with people who have significantly more experience than you and probably more education. Education is not the end-all be-all, but work experience is plus achievements. So what you need to do is send out as much applications as you can, and then also try to get your work experience up because you're competing against a lot of different people. Another reason why people are stuck here is they're ignoring networking as a key strategy because they think that it's not for them. They don't have a network, so it doesn't matter. Networking, getting inside referrals, is huge. It makes it significantly easier to get a job, and the stats back this up as well. I created a video on how to build your network from scratch. I'll leave it in the description below. People are also overlooking companies that don't post on job boards. One thing that I'll see is like, where did you post? Oh, I just posted it on Indeed. I just posted on Monster. That's it. They don't do additional research into small companies that are inside their area. There are a lot of companies that need your skill set. You just need to be able to get in front of them. If you can get to the hiring manager, if you can get to the CEO or anyone who has influence over the decisions, you'll have a higher chance of breaking into that company. But first thing is to figure out where they are. If you can figure out where they are, you could probably get hired at a small mom and pop and build up your experience that way while you try to figure out how to transition and get the work experience that you need to make it to the bigger interviews. Do research on the companies around you, and then you might have to take on a less desirable company just to get your experience. Just know that it's short term, but do what you got to do so that you can level up and get out. So here are a few immediate wins. Focus on smaller local companies, and you're usually going to have less competition. Also, another thing that gets missed is start networking with recruiters. It's one of the things that I did previously, and it's how I got job offers at previous places that I've interviewed that I utilized to get a higher salary when I got a job offer at a place that I actually wanted. So start reaching out to recruiters, especially those who specialize in entry-level roles or data analytics, placing people in companies, because that's what people are struggling with, especially those who are trying to break in, which is the majority of who is watching my videos. Remember and just accept the game. The game is a numbers game. Don't be mad at the game. You have to play it. There's no way around it. We can complain about it. It's unfair for some people. There's some people who are lucky. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just focus on yourself and what you can do. Apply to 10, 15 jobs a week or what's reasonable without overthinking each one. Job hunting requires volume and consistency. So stop comparing yourself to others and taking rejection personally. Just focus on the goal. It only takes one for you to get hired and rack up the experience that you need to make getting jobs in the future easier. But when you're breaking into it, your first job is going to be hard. Just do what you have to do to gain that experience. And just track all the applications that you're sending out. Send out thank you message, follow up consistently. This is something that people don't do. If you follow up consistently, if you send out handwritten letters, go above and beyond what other people are doing to stand out, because you're competing against a lot of people. If you can stand out in any way, it'll be good. And if you can just even be top of mind when there is opening, hiring managers will think of you, recruiters will think about you. So keep doing it. Yes, it's a lot of work, but you have to do what you have to do to get the job experience. Next is the I, which is impress. Are you standing out inside your application? Here, we're gonna focus on your resume, your portfolio quality, and your LinkedIn profile so that we know that you're making an impact and it's a good, valid impact. Common problems I see here are going to be not hearing back from companies despite applying to many roles. So now that we diagnose that you're actually putting in the work, you're not hearing back from anybody. Okay, it's not no longer a numbers problem for you. It's going to be in how you're presenting yourself or the skills and the experience that you probably lack. So now you got to figure out, how do I make up for that? Think of this as applications to college. You hear of people who make it into these Ivy League schools that don't have a perfect GPA. What did they do? They had to do something different. They stood out in different ways. You want to think about impressing for this I in ways to increase your impression, your application to these companies. I may not be able to change my GPA. I was a bad student. I'm not putting my GPA on my resume. And so that's fixed. I can't change that because it's already happened. 2.4 GPA, not going to help. I can't do anything about it. What can I do to make sure that I stand out on resumes? Get more experience, get better and bigger relevant work experiences and achievements. But that means I got to get hired. So have to figure out ways of getting hired. So volunteer, do what you need to do to get that experience. But think about all the unique ways, be creative. This is where a lot of people are very linear. And I blame our education system for this, because we are expected that if we go into higher education, if we just go to education, that's going to get us the job. Sometimes it will. In a bad job market, or where it's super competitive, especially inside data analytics now, it's not enough. So now you have to be creative and think about, okay, if I was a hiring manager and I looked at my resume compared to everybody else, what could I do to make sure that I stand out aside from all of these different applicants? What is something unique? Not really web development skills, but I knew how to build websites. So what I did was I built a website and showcased my portfolio of all my data analytics skills, but also my non-data analytics skills. I put in my personality. I showed my different dances. I showed that I was a director for a different dance team. I put in our YouTube videos of our different performances as like my personal section. So on top of having my work achievements, and then I redacted screenshots of all the different various projects and then put that onto the website, and then you could click through everything and then look at all of the different projects. You got to get more context into why they were important, what they did, what impact I brought into the company. That's where a lot of other people fail at this too. They don't know how to make it relatable to the hiring manager. My hiring manager has no idea what you're working on and why it's relevant, why it's important. So you have to contextualize, quantify, and the best ways to do that is through impact. Did you save time? Did you save, or did you make money? Or did you save money? Think about it in that way. And if you didn't do that, you could have done it indirectly. And if you didn't do that, just think about the goals that you met, that were set. Did you go above and beyond what the goals were set? Think about any other way of standing out. When I went into interviews, I brought in a portfolio, like a thick portfolio with the paper printed out in nice portfolio where it was easy for them to be impressed. Like you bring out a portfolio, that is what you want to be thinking about, but just in your applications. How can I impress the hiring manager enough to get me an interview? Why people get stuck in this place: your resume is generic, it doesn't highlight relevant achievements, your portfolio is missing, and it lacks clear results. Your LinkedIn profile also is not optimized for recruiter searches, which is important because you also want to be able to get recruiters reaching out to you. That's how you know you're writing the keywords, and then your portfolio and your profile is optimized in a way that is enticing for recruiters to want to give you job offers. You might just have a lack of relevant work experience, and this is going to be prioritized over higher education in most cases. Along with higher education, this is something that actually happened when we were hiring candidates. And one thing that I saw on the hiring side when we were looking for new analysts to come into our department, there are a few candidates who had advanced degrees, but no real work experience. And when we interviewed them, it's rough. Like they have all of this advanced knowledge, but they didn't know how to tie it back to if they could actually provide the work and the role and the outcomes that we wanted inside our department. Can you make our jobs easier where we don't have to handhold you? We don't want to have someone who is going to be a liability unless you're already going to be contributing, and then we can train you to do a lot more and you have a lot of potential. But if you're a liability and it's going to take you a long time and we don't know if your skills actually translate into helping the business, then you're going to get overlooked for somebody who has real work experience, even if they don't have the higher education. Do you have the technical skills? And have you shown that you can translate the technical skills into real working experience and outcomes, and you've met goals? And then can you also communicate that to us in a way that we understand it so that we know how that you can provide that into the role that you're looking for? One of the things that I highly suggest for people is to hold off on pursuing higher education, get that work experience, because oftentimes you'll be able to get into entry-level roles and then go into higher education and get it paid for by your job. Your job will pay for at least a portion, maybe even a significant portion or all of it, and then you don't even have to worry about paying for it, and then it sets you up for a promotion later. Aside from just going into directly from undergrad, this varies by company and department by department and candidate, but just know that get the relevant work experience first, and then move up from there, because it'll be cheaper in the long run and you'll be able to set yourself up for promotions. Even if you're in school right now, start working, apply for an entry-level job or a job that you wouldn't want to take once you graduate. Why? Because you want to get the relevant work experience, because you're going to see a lot of places when you're applying 1 to 2 years of experience. Do that in a job that you're okay with handling while you're in school, and potentially a job that can hire you after you get out of school and then promote you, than trying to do that when you're graduated and now you can't find a way into the job market because you don't have the work experience. So here are some immediate wins for people who are struggling here. Tailor your resume. My next video that I'm gonna be doing quickly is going to be my resume that got me hired 10 years ago. It's a little, me looking back, there's so much things I could fix, but it was good for what it did at that time. And it's still better than a lot of the resumes that we sift through when candidates are coming into our department. What you wanna do is tailor your resume, use keywords from the job description itself to optimize for the ATS systems, which is basically just the filtering systems that recruiters and hiring managers use. And if you do not have the keywords inside your resume, your resume could potentially get filtered out and you'll never make it to the interview stage. So you want to also highlight relevant, measurable results and achievements, and then put the impact that I mentioned earlier. Also, create a one-page portfolio or an online portfolio that you could create a link to, or do unique things. One thing that you can do is you can create a YouTube video highlighting all of your different profile and your portfolio pieces, and then go over that, edit in free software. The hiring manager and everyone can just look at that and then be like, oh, he put in more time than all of these other candidates, and it's different. So you want to think about ways to showcase your portfolio, the highest hitting pieces, and then get that to the hiring managers and recruiters so you can make it to the next phase. And then the next thing that you want to do is just optimize for LinkedIn to attract recruiters so you can get another organic inflow of recruiters sending you jobs. They may not be the best jobs, but they potentially will have another way for you to figure out more companies to look for. And at worst case, you can take on these jobs to get the experience that you need until you can transition into the jobs that you actually want. Think of things that recruiters can be searching for. Are they looking for data analyst, business analyst, SQL, Tableau, Python? Think of things like that. Keywords like data visualization. Add it to your skill section or throughout your resume or in your LinkedIn history. And then now that brings us to refine. Are you converting your interviews into offers? You want to think about this like a marketing funnel. Yes, I was a marketing guy, marketing major. I freelance marketing for a while. And here you just want to think about, this is the number of applications you sent, how many of those actually are effective into converting into interviews, and then how much of your interviews are converting into actual job offers. This is the refine part. You want to assess your interview performance, and then you're going to improve your ability to secure offers. So common problems that I see here are you're getting interviews, but you just aren't moving to the next stage, either the next interview or not getting a job offer at the very end. This is how I know that this is a communication problem, and this is going to be how you present yourself in interviews. I'm not the most technical person, but I can convey a lot with my communication, and that I can become their ideal candidate through how I interact and how I connect. That was one of my skills that I was always good at. And so if I knew I could get to the final stages of interview, I would be able to get hired in most of those cases. One of the reasons why I see a lot of people stuck in this area is just their answers to interview questions, behavioral questions. They're just unclear, unfocused, or you do not cause a reaction inside the interviewer. And what I mean by a reaction is an emotion. You want them to feel something. You want them to be happy when they're around you. You want them to feel like they're comfortable and they want to work with you on a longer term basis. The other thing that I see too is a lack of preparation for the technical answers or technical questions or case study based questions or just anything that might be hard that comes up. This actually happened to me a while ago. I did not have advanced proficiency in SQL. I knew the basics, and I was interviewing for another role to be able to go into healthcare econ. And they were asking me about SQL stuff, really common stuff that I didn't understand like the technical words and jargon for it. And then when I look back on it, I was like, I do that on a regular basis. I just wasn't formally trained and I couldn't answer it in the way that he wanted to hear. So because of that lack of experience, even though I had the technical skill to do that, I didn't get the job offer even though I made it to the final interview. So it's the lack of technical ability is why we're going with a different candidate. Immediate wins for you is going to master behavioral questions with something called STAR. You want to think of situation, task, action, and result. So an example would be like, tell me about a time you solved a data-related problem. So situation could be sales reporting was manual and slow. The task was I automated the process for faster results. The action was I built an Excel macro to pull and clean the data automatically. The result is I reduced reporting time by 80%, improved accuracy, and brought $100,000 more to the bottom line in the time that I saved in employee full-time hours. So you want to think of that. Just think of STAR. It's just a very simple structure you can think of your head when you're answering questions. Next is prepare for technical questions. This is going to vary by industry and by company, but if you just do a simple Google search or you go onto Reddit for data science, analytics, and you ask, you'll be able to get feedback on what other people were going through and what other questions they were asked. You can also network on LinkedIn with the people who have those titles and then just ask them how their interview process went. And last is ask great questions. A good question to ask is, what are the biggest challenges your team faces with data right now? The manager or whoever you're interviewing with is going to give this to you, and then you can tie it back to your skill set or what you've talked about with the manager previously inside your conversation, and then show how you can actually solve their problems. If they're bringing up these problems, these are things that they're wanting to be solved with their role, or they're burning problems that are just top of mind right now. And if you can be the solution to their burning problem, you're going to go a long way in getting hired. And then last but not least is the E, which is evaluate. Are you learning? Are you iterating and growing incrementally? Here is where I want you to objectively, yes, objectively assess and adjust your own performance. Here is where a lot of candidates can get caught up in their emotions and take things too personally. Yeah, I got rejected from this company. You can reframe it in a way like, I didn't have enough experience, I didn't have technical skill sets, I didn't connect with this company to get hired, instead of making it personal and an attack on your personality because you didn't get hired. When you cannot make it about yourself and you can make it about a learning moment, then you'll be able to survive this job searching process, because it can get rough, especially when you're going through hundreds, thousands of interviews and you're not getting a job offer. Common problems that I see here is you're just stuck at the same stage repeatedly and you just keep running into the same problems and you're not doing anything new. Doing the same thing repeatedly with expecting the same result is the definition of insanity. Common problem I see is that you're getting job offers, but you're getting them to roles that you don't want. So now you just have to figure out, okay, how can I tweak it so that I can become the candidate that can accept these roles? Or what am I missing? Is it the job experience I'm missing? Can I get that role without the job experience? This is where you have to be objective with what you're looking for. Have other people gotten that role without the education portion, without the job experience? How did they get the role in those cases? You have to reverse engineer how people are doing it, and if it's necessary. One of the things I messed up on was my internship. When I was in undergrad, I just went with like a small company instead of trying to get into a better company. And if I got into a better marketing role at that time, I would have had a marketing job right out of college, because I would have hustled and looked for a really good company. Instead, I just was like, whatever, I'll work for my friend's small dance company and get some free dance classes out of it and like an easy experience, instead of actually like hustling and looking like, okay, here's where I ultimately want to be after graduation. How have my internship set me up. And if you're transitioning into analytics now, based on all the job responsibilities I've been seeing on these job boards and the companies that are requesting and preferred, how do I become that candidate and get the relevant work experience so that I can beat out all the people that I'm competing against? And then one thing that is very, very important, after every step, if you get to somebody and they say that you're not going to make it to the next step, important, ask for feedback, and you'll be able to at least have feedback to go off on how to improve yourself. So for here, it's just thinking more creatively, but objectively, and taking the emotion out of. Yes, it's hard. It's hard when you're getting rejected. It's hard when you're not hearing anything back. But to survive this, and for your own mental health, take yourself out of it and just take it as a learning opportunity and just incrementally get better, and think of it more as a puzzle than an attack on you as a person. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and the application that you sent the previous day. You have no idea what other people are going through. Nobody knows what you're going through. So compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Keep your chin up, put your head down, and keep at it. This is a race. As long as you do not take yourself out of the race and keep improving, you'll figure out how to get to the finish line. And now that you know how to diagnose the problem, finding a job gets easier and faster, but there is a harsh truth about becoming an analyst that you need to know. So watch my next video to learn what that is and how it can save you months of frustration. So check that out.